Good morning, and this is April the 28th. I was wrong yesterday. April is April 28th today, and this is Tuesday, and we are talking about Romanticism. Now, hopefully by now you've looked at Canvas. I sent you a few pictures of some romantic art that I happen to have. I'll send you some more tomorrow, by the way. And I also sent you a clip from the film Gladiator and asked you to compare the famous picture of Napoleon crossing the Alps, which I sent this morning, with that clip from Gladiator where, you know, it's the scene in the Colosseum and the hero Maximus mounts a horse, and guess what color it is? Yes, it's white. And, you know, he could not look more heroic unless he put on a cape and started flying through the air. Yeah, very inspired by the film. So that is very much worth looking at. I mean, Romanticism, I almost hate to finish this chapter. Trust me, we would be watching the film Last of the Mohicans, which once again is another film that deals with heroism. And heroism is totally illogical. Why would one choose to be a hero? You know, why would one place their own safety, their own well-being, their own lives in jeopardy for the sake of someone else? You know, that's the role of the hero, and the role of the hero is huge in Romanticism. Doing things that are illogical, being brave in the face of overwhelming odds. Totally illogical and yet totally romantic, which makes it very good reading, which makes superheroes super. Okay, yesterday we went over some romantic pieces of art and literature. Today we're on part C on your study guide. I hope that you've pulled up your Arts and Humanities Unit 10. One day, maybe we'll get to call this course Arts and Humanities again instead of HAVPA, which is something that I don't, still to this day, I couldn't tell you what the HAVPA means. HAVPA survey or whatever it's called. But anyway, if you have your Arts and Humanities Unit 10, Revolution Romanticism, it must also be noted here that while most people classify Beethoven, remember Beethoven? Bum, 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 bum. Beethoven's fifth. 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth. Most classify Beethoven as strictly a classical musician. Musically speaking, Beethoven's work actually fits into the Romantic era along with Frederick Chopin. Chopin was Polish, born in Warsaw, actually, although he spent most of his life in Paris. Look, I think the lawnmowers have left Ryle and they followed me here to bother me. But anyway, yeah, Chopin left Warsaw, Poland, and moved to Paris, spent most of his life there. So Chopin is claimed by both Poland and France. Although when Chopin died, his heart was taken back to Warsaw. And I actually was in a church where they took his heart and they encased it. I mean, his heart, and they encased it in one of the pillars that supports the roof in the church. I mean, it shows the sign there. Yeah, this is where Chopin's heart is. And anyway, Chopin was noted for his affair with novelist George Sand. And George Sand was a pen name for Aurore Dudevant. And if you haven't put it together, yes, this is a homosexual relationship in a day when being homosexual could still get you strung up, get you hung. The Romantic era in music was marked by virtuosos, solo performers like Chopin. We would call them stars today, people who could play music extremely well. These people are the predecessors of the Elvises or the Johnny Cashes, the Beatles of their day. They are followers of Mozart. That is going to drive me crazy. The most popular virtuoso of the day was violinist Niccolo Paganini, who toured Europe with his technical expertise, and someone whose name has faded away. Often in the Romantic period, artistic greatness was often connected to near madness, such as Poe, Edgar Allan Poe, by the way. Miss Johnson's favorite, Edgar Allan Poe. Lord Byron. Lord Byron was the guy who, Lord Byron, Mr. Halleck. Lord Byron was the guy, as you know, used to hang out with Mary Shelley and her husband, Percy Shelley, and they would sit up at night and tell each other ghost stories. And Lord Byron was the one that would always lose the bet of who could make the scariest stories. He was a little bit off kilter. Lord Byron also was the one who was a true romantic in the sense that when the Greek War for Independence against the Ottoman Empire sprung up, Byron is the one who goes off to fight in that war, a war he had no business being in. I mean, Lord Byron was English. He was living in Italy. There's this war for independence for the Greeks going on. And he has some romantic notion that this war is to reestablish Greek democracy over these Ottoman oppressors. So he goes and while in the Balkan Peninsula, he contracts a fever and dies. Yeah, romantics are known for living life dangerously. You say, what does that mean? Well, like Mozart, they drink too much. They have sex. They have sex with everything that moves. They live on the edge of life. They take dares. They do dangerous things. You could lump all sorts of performing artists into these categories. Morrison of the Doors, obviously. Elton John. I don't know how many of you people saw the film Rocket Man. I mean, Elton John lived life rather recklessly, and he would be the first to tell you that. But yeah, and of course Mozart, who drank himself to death. But Johnny Cash, spent a large part of his life musical career. He spent time in jail for being caught with a large amount of narcotics. It's not unusual. You can name all the many pop stars. Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, and I hope you all have some inkling of who they are. Janis Joplin, me and Bobby McGee. Jimi Hendrix was one of the great early rock musician guitarists. And Mama Cass Elliot, probably the best vocal on the singing group, the Mamas and Papas. basically they all died in the same way. And what that was, it's easy. They died in a drug overdose. Yeah, that's true. Except what they did was that they took so many narcotics that it knocked them out. And when their stomach rejected the chemicals they had put in there, they threw up and drowned in their own. Yeah. And all three of them died like that. And they weren't the only ones. But anyway. Yeah, Edgar Allan Poe was a great abuser of laudanum. Laudanum, which is a combination of whiskey and powdered opium. And yeah, Edgar Allan Poe used to like to take that. Poe, who lived in Virginia, I think it was in October, he got really hammered on that stuff. And then went and passed out in a cold October rain in Virginia. Subsequently died. All right, let's move on. Ballerinas brought about two changes. Dancing on point of the romantic. Ballet fascinates me. And no, except for watching The Nutcracker once. And I watched it because I was a chaperone for a little kids group who went over and watched a performance of The Nutcracker at the old music hall in Cincinnati. I remember going to watch The Nutcracker, and the kid next to me was sleeping on me and he's snoring. But that's the only one I've ever seen. But what fascinates me about ballet is the sheer athleticism. And during the Romantic age, dancing on point, meaning that dancers stand on their feet like this is the floor and this is their toes. The athletic, physical strength and balance it takes to do that, simply incredible. On their hardened shoes to further show off their technical fitness and their, athletic fitness. And also the shortening of the ballerinas' dresses to show off their technique. And eventually, when it goes on and on, if you ever watch ballet dancers, ballerinas, and male ballerinas dance today, their outfits allow the maximum of movement. So, Roman numeral 7. In Germany, the towering figure of the Romantic art and literature was a guy named Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. Yeah, Goethe. Oddly enough, early in his career, Goethe had remarked that Romanticism is sickness, that classicism, Greek and Roman art, is health. However, he then, deserts these ideas and becomes a true romantic with his masterpiece, the two-part drama known as Faust, or The Incredible Tale of Dr. Faust. Faust is a story that has been repeated several times. The Devil and Daniel Webster. There have been episodes of The Twilight Zone that taken on the Faust mystery. But Faust is a story about this guy who's really smart. Or, Charlie Daniels, The Devil Went Down to Georgia. I heard that song. I may put it up on And Faust is a tale of this very brave man who cuts a deal with Satan for his soul. And it's an intriguing deal. The deal is that if Satan lets him experience all of life's pleasures, he will serve Satan in hell at his death. Whereas, but the catch is, and there's always a catch, if Faust is ever satisfied with, Faust can have anything he wants, riches, physical pleasures, etc., 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 fame. But if Faust ever is satisfied, then that life will stay the same as is. In that instant, Faust dies and the devil collects. Now, of course, Faust wants all kinds of things, and the devil delivers. And one of the things Faust wants, is his very attractive neighbor, Marguerite. Short for Gretchen. I don't know how, but yeah, Marguerite. She's very attractive. Faust really wants her. But the problem is that Marguerite's mother really hates Faust. And, Faust is like, man, we need to get Marguerite's mother out of the way so that I can be with Marguerite. And so what happens is Marguerite's mother ends up dying of an overdose of sleeping potion. The problem is, and then Marguerite's brother challenges Faust, and Mephistopheles. What's that name? Mephistopheles. Mephistopheles together. Mephistopheles, you say, who's Mephistopheles? Mephistopheles is like the devil's right-hand man. He's a demon. You might have heard, if you ever heard any of Sting's songs, Mephistopheles is included. I forget which one. But yeah, so Faust and Mephistopheles kill Marguerite's brother. And then Marguerite drowns the baby she bears for Faust and is imprisoned. So the climactic scene comes when Marguerite, who has been imprisoned for the death of the child, the death of the mother. So Faust, devil can do anything he wants. So Faust says, I want her out of prison. So Faust and Mephistopheles bust into prison and say to Marguerite, come on, let's go. And Marguerite refuses to go with him. Seals her own fate in death because she's going to be hung, but also guarantees her trip to heaven. Now, the second book of Faust, Faust II, stretched out over time and circumstance, and to be honest, it's not nearly as popular as Faust, the original story. But that idea that Johann Wolfgang von Goethe comes up with of making a deal with Satan and then trying to get out of the deal is one that gets repeated a lot. It is a romantic idea. What is romantic about it? What is romantic about it, once again, is that it deals with the supernatural, deals with the macabre, And so, yeah, that's one of the elements of Romanticism, the supernatural, for example. Yeah. Excuse me. Okay, let's continue on. Another study in Romanticism went by several names. Excuse me, I'm going to sneeze. And this is why we cannot have class, because I just infected half the classroom. Oh, sorry. Okay. Yes. Yeah, another study in Romanticism went by several names, but was remembered for both his flamboyant lifestyle and his literature, and that was Lord Byron, a man of hedonistic lifestyle. See, that's the thing. The Romantics once again, live life 90 miles an hour. Brian had affairs with people of both sexes in a time when, once again, homosexuality could mean a gallows hanging. Like I said, he hung out with Percy Shelley and Mary Shelley in a little villa in Italy where they would sit up all night, drink alcohol, and tell each other ghost stories. It was said, had he lived, he would have been the first king of Greece, but he didn't. He died. He typified the romantic era of a lonely hero whose courage and perseverance would overcome great odds and make a difference in the world. And once again, that idea permeates American pop culture. My hero and yours, the Lone Ranger. Also Batman. Yeah. I mean, you think about what the Lone Ranger and Batman have in common. They, of course, wear a mask to conceal their identities. They have been wronged by society, and they fight alone against the injustices of society. And if you really read into them, they're tortured souls. Yeah. Chuck Norris would not fall into this. All right. Tomorrow we will begin talking about Eugene Delacroix and some of his more famous works of art, particularly Liberty Leads the People, which I'll send you a picture of. Okay? I think that ends us for today. I'd like to thank all of you for your time and attention. Remember that you have a Test Friday. Test Friday on Romanticism. So yes, thank you all very much, and I will see you tomorrow.